Hello and welcome back to Tiny Artist TV. Today is the last day of our 12 days of DnDecember. So obviously we're down to one prompt left, so we know that our character is going to be a fighter, but I'm still going to roll a d20 to find out what race they're going to be. So let's see here. We've got a half-elf fighter. Okay, typically elves aren't known for being burly fighter-esque. They're typically known for being lithe, so let's see how this turns out. So upon doing a little bit of research, I did discover that you can use Dex over Strength as your main stat, and you can also choose to specialize in archery or finesse weapons versus heavy martial weapons, which I didn't know because I've never really played as a fighter character, but I have played in parties where there were fighter characters, but they were subclasses like Eldritch Fighter, which is a mix of magic and fighting class, and then other characters that were just like, straight up typical brawler types. But anyway, let's continue on with the sketch. As you can see, this was another prompt where I had to work through a couple of sketches before I was satisfied with one, and I end up going with this pose. It just works for the type of character that I wanted to portray, mainly because, so when I first thought of half-elf, the thing that stood out to me was elf, and not the half part of it. That half could be anything. It's typically human, but she could be half elf, half orc, which I actually do have a character like that in my campaign who I have yet to draw. But anyway, it could be half elf, half dwarf, half elf, half halfling. You get the point. So just because she's half elf doesn't mean that she's like dainty. So I wanted to portray that in her basically being a human with some pointy ears, but showing the diversity that like humans are pretty much capable of all kind of subsets and classes. And it's not to say that they're the most diverse class in D&D, just because as a human that would be kind of self-serving, but that's to say that because of her half-elf lineage is not impeded by, or it's in fact helped by whatever her other half is. And so I kind of just forego the idea of doing something with archery or fencing, something that has a lighter weapon, which, like I had stated earlier, would go in the finesse weapon class. And I give her some big old sword. Well, they're not great swords. They're great swords. They're drawn pretty great, but you know what I mean. They're not a great class sword versus a short sword or like a saber or any other sword in that category. So it's heavy enough to do some damage, but it's light enough for this to be wielded by a half-elf character whose main main stat, there we go, whose main stat isn't strength, but is dex, so they're able to move as they need to, but still be a force to be reckoned with. So as we're getting to the end of the video here, I'm just kind of going into the background and cleaning up the bits that were around the edge that had kind of shown up when I added the darkness to it. And for the filigree, I actually stole that from the first day. But thank you guys for hanging in there for all 12 days of our DnDecember, 12 days of DnDecember prompt. I hope you guys enjoyed this little series. And I will see you guys for my next video, which is going to be a Time Warp Tuesday number 3. In the meantime, have a weird day.